Ah, you again. Where we go this time?
The Civic Museum, Central Park.
Whatever you want.
Civic Museum of New York. It closed about 3 years ago for some expansion work, but the crisis stopped everything halfway. Since then, it's stayed this way, a mausoleum of our past that no one cares about anymore. This museum has been closed for at least 3 years. The economic crisis has convinced more than one mayor that continuing to invest in the past isn't a good deal. The world of dinosaurs. It's a shame I'm no longer that age where you get excited by seeing the bones of something that died thousands of years ago. The museum's opening hours. Obviously, they don't offer any night visits. The main entrance to the museum. I seriously doubt they left the doors unlocked. No, it doesn't make any sense. All the windows are closed. Some scaffolding parts. A rusted ladder. I don't need it right now, but when I want to get a tetanus infection, I know where to go. There's my reward for having traveled halfway across Manhattan to get here. The door is open. It certainly wasn't the caretaker who left it like that. The lock was shot in. Whoever it was had to be very interested in something that's inside the museum, or what was inside the museum. I don't think anyone will be too upset if I take a little nighttime tour of the museum. I'll admit that these beasts must have been pretty scary at their time, but nothing compared to an ambitious New York lawyer. This is the way to the main entrance, but I don't need to go there. These crates must contain the exhibits that are being moved from the various rooms. Some crates are labeled, but it's too dark to see what's written on them. Let's see. The label says the find in this case comes from Rome, Italy. It was displayed in room 6 before it was moved here. Let's see. The label says the find in this case comes from Ishimche in Guatemala. It was displayed in room 28 before it was moved here. These crates, unlike the others, are not labeled. Let's see. The label says the find in this case comes from Samarra, Iraq. It was displayed in room 13 before it was moved here. Iraq should be in Professor Zindler's area of expertise. I should check on the Islamic map. A map of ancient Persia. The newspaper article that I found at the police department was about the professor's studies on Persia. Samarra. That's the same name I read on one of the crates in the atrium, so its contents must be displayed in the Islamic area. It was from room 13. Room 13 must be the old Islamic area, and that's where the professor's office must be. Now I have to find the directions to room 13. Wandering around the museum would not be a good idea. Now that I know that room 13 is the Islamic area, I shouldn't have any problems finding it, thanks to this map. Good. Now all I have to do is find Professor Zindler's office in room 13. It wasn't easy, but eventually I made it to my destination. Crates, probably waiting to be transferred to another room. A long wait considering they've been here for years. Nice chandelier. It'd look great in my office. This museum's architect must have gone wild when he designed this room. It's the first time I've seen a water tank in a museum. This water doesn't look like it's drinkable. This crate is open. There's nothing inside. Representations of cuneiform writing on Sumerian tablets. That's what the label says. The stairway to go upstairs, but I can't use it. There's scaffolding in the way. Even the display cases in this room were emptied. There's just some dust in them. Graphic reproduction of a ziggurat, a Templar construction from Mesopotamia. At least that's what the label says. Professor Zindler's office. Lots of books, old photographs, and some museum pieces. The professor's office seems pretty normal. Normal if it weren't for a dead body in the middle of the room. There is no doubt that this is Professor Zindler. It's the same face I saw in the newspaper. His body is cold, but not too much. He can't have been dead more than 7 hours. And that bullet hole in his forehead makes me think that he didn't die of natural causes. There is no doubt that this is Professor Zindler. It's the same face I saw in the newspaper. The newspaper said that he had died during the bombing of Ricky's cafe, so either the professor is back from the dead, or the bombing was just a setup. I think I believe in the second option, even though the first one is definitely very fascinating. Better not touch it. I'm already being investigated for Sean's death. Leaving my fingerprints on a second dead body wouldn't be a great idea. Only other books and photographs of archaeological digs. There's a dictaphone on the table. It looks like it was used recently. This is the support you put the wax cylinders on in order to record a message, or listen to it again. Vases, tablets, and some other objects that some researcher would call fascinating. I'll just call them knickknacks. It's an archaeology degree given to Professor August Zindler. It's fine where it is. A picture of the Tower of Babel. According to the Bible, mankind started building it to reach God, and God punished them by making everyone speak a different language so that they couldn't finish it. Looks like I still remember something of those catechism lessons my mother made me go to when I was a kid. A map of ancient Mesopotamia. There are all kinds of books. Most are about ancient Persia and Middle Eastern civilizations. I doubt that these books will tell me why the professor has a bullet in his forehead. These must be theology textbooks, given the number of times that the words God and divine recur in them. There's at least a dozen different versions of the Old Testament. Some seem pretty old. Some books are missing from this shelf, and it looks like they were taken in a hurry. The only books left are those on esotericism. Books on history and archaeology. Some of these are written in German. It looks like someone slept on this sofa. The professor is at least 5'7", so he is definitely too tall for this sofa. It means it couldn't have been him using it. On the desk, there are some drawings of spirals. They don't seem to have been done by an adult. There's something on the ground. It's a wax cylinder for a dictaphone. It looks like there's a recording on it. If I could get the pieces in the right order, I could listen to it. I better use this piece to help me position the others. I better use... Now the pieces fit together, but I must find a way to make them stick together. Yes, if I melt the wax on the edges, the various pieces should stick together without any problem. It looks like all the pieces are attached well. It should be okay this way. Now I only have to turn it on. Dictaphone. This device can record a few minutes of voice recordings on wax cylinders. And now let's see what's on the cylinder. The The cylinder is running, and the voice of a woman with a French accent comes from the dictaphone's small speaker. She introduces herself as Michelle Nicholas from the Congregation of Five. The message was recorded for the professor and explains the details of a plan to get him and the girl out of the museum. According to the plan, a man sent from the congregation will come to pick up the professor and bring him and the girl to a safe house. The recording ends with the woman thanking the professor for having taken the girl away from a city with an incomprehensible name. A French woman, a congregation with a pretentious name, and a professor that kidnaps girls. A lot of information for my already confused head. So it was the professor who brought the girl here. This explains many things. Sean was probably one of the men who was supposed to get the professor and the girl, according to Michelle Nicholas's plan. But something must have gone wrong, and Zindler is the one who paid the price for it. I remember an organization called the Congregation of Five being mentioned in the incision. I'd better do some research on Michelle Nicholas. Maybe the police archives could be helpful this time as well.
Ah, you again. Where we go this time?
The police department, Hoboken.
We see.
As they say, open sesame. Looks like there's a file on Michelle Nicholas, too. 607-0121. All the files on the people arrested by various New York departments are here. Everyone has a 7-digit number. File 607-0121, Michelle Nicholas. Here's Michelle Nicholas's file. Nicholas's profile. As I had guessed from the name, she has French origins. Odd. Under crimes, there's nothing but a vague, possible involvement in a criminal organization. That's a pretty weak reason to open a file on someone. These are reports filled out by different officers. It looks like they were tailing Michelle Nicholas. It doesn't happen often in New York, but when it does, the police make sure that at least a couple officers are following the suspect. And it looks like Malone was the one to request the stakeout, at least judging by the signature on these pages. This seems to be the report on the last sighting of Michelle Nicholas. She arrived in New York on October 28, 1933, and she disappeared on November the 5th, the same day of the staged death of Professor Zindler. According to the report, in that week she was renting a room, and surprise, she chose Slavonsky's apartments to hide in. If you have little money and a not exactly immaculate criminal record, it's the best place to go. Who knows, maybe that stingy Russian Slavonsky might be able to give me some useful information about our runaway French woman.
Where you want go this time?
Essex Street, Lower East Side.
Okay.